There are three aspects that are often found running together: mantra, yantra, and tantra. All of them have that ending sound tra, T-R-A, with a suffix of man, yan, and tan. Tra means a tool, an instrument. Mantra is an instrument of the mind. Mantra. Yantra is a tool by which we can understand the cyclic nature of the universe, name, number, form. And Tantra is a tool of energy, the creation, maintenance, sustenance, awareness of energies becomes Tantra. Today, I thought let's take a short look at the concepts of Tantra, Yantra, Mantra, with special focus on Yantra, the science of name, number, and form. Last evening, we were talking about mantra as a tool through which you invoke energies of the universe and evoke those energies within yourself. Those potential energies of the universe manifesting in the forms of gods and goddesses in the iconography of Indian tradition. Well, many of you today are dressed in such a beautiful way, you look like goddesses. A manifestation of those energies, when understood through name, number, and form, we start to understand why we are here, where we are, and where we are going. Numbers go through cyclic patterns, and it is a constant clock within clock within clock within clock type of pattern, wheel within wheel, within wheel within wheel. And actually it's very beautiful because you have all these multiple wheels you have wheel within wheel within wheel, and within that you have a wheel, within that you have a wheel, within that you have a wheel. Similarly, you keep on going outward, you have another wheel, you have another wheel. Each of these wheels having their own inner wheels. For anyone who loves clocks, you can find a bit of this in clocks that keep time, interestingly. The concept of time itself is part of that. All of this within its own wheel. And you can keep on expanding it out as far as you want and in as far as you want. In fact, we start to realize that each of these units, the small units, affects the larger unit. Because when one of these small wheels turns, it turns the other smaller wheels within it, which turn the bigger wheel, which influence the other wheels as well as the bigger wheel. And so you have this constant interplay going on, an interplay that can become staggeringly frightening at times when you realize cause and effect are so deeply interconnected, there is a danger of going into, I'm not going to do anything, I'm afraid to do anything. I'm afraid to think anything because what am I setting up when I think, let alone say and do? In fact, many years ago I was in Berlin at the Indian Cultural Center. And after what I thought was a decent lecture of 2 hours, I had a very nice old lady come up to me and she said, Dr. Ananda, that was really awesome. And she said, but now, I'm scared to do anything. What do you think? Because I had been talking about the connectivity in mudras. When you bring the index finger and the thumb together, you are creating an amazing connection. When you don't do that, you create another amazing connection. For example, when we do the chin mudra, we are creating a connection between the individual and the divine. The divine, God, the highest, Paramatma, the universe. The individual, you, me, us, creating that link between the Jivatma and the Paramatma, creating that link between the individuality and the universality, emergence, which becomes possible when you control the senses. Those senses that are always going out, looking for nourishment. When you start to control all the 3 gunas, the 3 aspects of nature, tamasika, rajasika, sattvika, when your physical, causal and subtle in between, yes, physical, subtle and causal bodies, they start to get aligned. This becomes the mudra of consciousness, chin mudra. I cannot but tell you one crazy story about this. I'm sure you have seen quite a few of my DVDs out there put out by a very nice man in Chennai, who anytime I want to do anything says, Doctor, whatever you want, no problem. Okay, doctor. Yes, doctor. Do you want to put out another file? Sorry, sir, I don't have time. In the last 2 years, I've ended up with one. Lack of time. And of course, the Yoga Sutras, which are on a different level altogether for me. But we had made one of the very first DVDs, and he in his enthusiasm said, I'm going to put it out in Italian, French, Spanish. Some of them have that. The later DVDs don't have that, because I learned my lesson. I said, Naveen is the owner. I said, Naveen, I know a bit of English, not much. In fact, my mother, who used to teach me English as a kid, thought I would never learn to speak English at all. And it's not too bad, okay. Needs a lot of improvement. I said, I can be confident of the English part of my script, but not the Italian, French, and Spanish, because I don't know those languages. He said, okay, we are giving it to a professional translator who just knows absolutely what they are doing, and you don't have to worry, doctor. I said, okay, you are the marketing guy, you know your market, I don't know that. And so it was put out, and I got feedback from many people. They said, well, the translations were good, and it was nice, and all fine. And then when I got to Italy, my Italian yoga family, Hamsananda and others at the Geetananda ashram, they said, Hamsananda, how was it? And she said, Dr. Ananda, it was excellent and really good, but, I said, what? When the buts come, you really wonder what those buts are. She said, well, chin mudra had been translated as mudra of the chin. La mudra de mente or something like that. Mento. Because the translator just said CHIN, well, that's chin. Be careful of translations and translators. Chin mudra is not mudra of the chin, it is the gesture of consciousness, chit. But because the sound of tha and ma cannot come together except in the word atma, that chin, chit mudra becomes chin mudra. In fact, Dakshinamurti Shiva, Shiva, as the teacher, is said to be sitting facing south. That's the only problem in this place. I should be there. But Swamiji is behind me, so I don't worry. The teacher faces south, Dakshina Murti. He faces south, the Dakshin. And he is said to be Chinmudra Ananda Rupam. He is of the blissful form holding the Chinmudra, the gesture of consciousness. Mauna Vakyam, he doesn't talk. Totally opposite to me. Okay? I have no off button, he has no on button. Without vocal communication, he is able to transmit the teachings from the mind of the Guru to the mind of the disciple. Wow. Isn't that beautiful? The highest level of teaching is that. The lowest is when I have to give you class notes and handouts. That is the lowest level of teaching actually. The highest is so that it can just flow. That Chinmudra is sort of it. Anyway, coming back to my story in Berlin. I had, talked about mudras have to be specific and, finger has to touch finger till it cannot be away. In fact, it's very interesting because Amma has used this for so many years as a beautiful illustration that if you're not careful, instead of having a gesture where the individual unites with the cosmos, instead of having a gesture where there is control, you move the finger away into this. And this becomes the demon, the asura, the rakshas. The one who refuses to have the individual meet the cosmos. I will not, and I will not control. You hold it here and you have either the teeth or the horns in the dance. And it's very interesting to find yoga books and other things where, you're sitting like this and you're like, what are you invoking? Really? Ignorance is bliss, they say. Well, so I'd given this talk in Berlin about all of this, and this lady comes up, Dr.Ananda, now I'm scared to do anything because everything seems to be so connected. And all I told her, and I continue to tell everyone, and I tell myself, is whenever you look at all the divinities of Indian culture, all of them are standing in the Abhaya Mudra. Abhaya. Bhayam means fear. Abhaya means fear not. And that is the beauty of the divine. The divine does understand when we are making a sincere effort, even if we make mistakes. And though you have to be specific, if you are making a few mistakes, but your intent is good, the divine says, fine, no problem, I am there for you. So, there is a definite connection with the divine. And when we come to Yantra, we start to understand that, we have opportunity within opportunity happening every moment, including now. And we just miss that moment. It's gone. Every moment, now, yes, okay, gone. You have an opportunity at each moment to grow, and if you are conscious of every moment, and that is why it's become so popular to talk about being in the now, living in the now. And you are reading a book about the now, but written 10 years ago. It's okay. Sometimes I make these statements which... It's not somebody's book, okay? It is your life and it is what you do with your now that's going to matter. People ask me which is the good commentary on Yoga Sutras. I say it is the one you are going to write in your life. Which is the best commentary on the Bhagavad Gita? It's the one you are going to write with your life. Because when you live the teachings and those teachings become part and parcel of you, that is going to be the best possible that manifests. Not somebody else's commentary of a commentary of a commentary of the third commentary by the fourth commentary of the fifth author, and there's nothing left. I've heard people say things, Patanjali says so, and I'm like, Patanjali never said that. It was the fourth commentator who was commenting on the seventh commentator's statement who said something. And people say, Patanjali said it, and you're like, where? When you want to understand Yantra, it's all about you, and nobody else. It is the responsibility we take for our action, our thoughts, our deeds. And if you are going to be responsible, you are going to grow. I was telling them the other day, dharma is a responsibility. When we are able to understand the responsibility we are to take in this life, that becomes what is called the dharma marga. What is your responsibility for this lifetime? Why have you incarnated as a human being, endowed with the amazing potentiality that a human being is endowed with consciousness that can think, a body, mind, soul, emotions? You think we are incarnated like that to sit on a couch eating potato chips, watching the latest soap opera on television? No. That's for couch potatoes, not for human beings. Huh? You think we are meant to go out and shoot each other? No. We are incarnated as a human being with a specific purpose, and each and every one has a purpose. The problem is, most of us don't know the purpose. We don't know why we are alive. Well, Yantra gives us a bit of a glimpse. And please never refer to it as another numerology, please. Because I get tired of what happens with the concepts of numerology, because people just, can I put an extra A so that I make a lot of money? Please don't ever ask me such questions, okay? You'll find me transforming into maybe Swamiji, with this powerful kick. 2 applications I have to develop. One is Swamiji's lion roar, and the other is this kick in the back. 2 things. Maybe Amma's hug, tie them all together there. That used to be the combination that Swamiji students had to put up with. The roar, the kick, and then Amma hug. You have that balance. It is about finding out why we are here and then doing something about it. Not just playing around with numbers and saying, okay, the numbers will take care and let me be as stupid as I wanted to be in the first place and then just keep being stupid. No, come on, you have to wake up, you have to do something. No one can do it for you, no one can save you. As simple as that. That's the bottom line of yoga. If you want the benefit of Sarvangasana, you have to do it. Dr.Ananda, can you do the Sarvangasana and give me the benefit? That's what people want. Can somebody else do it for me? Oh, come on, I love you so much, can you do it for me? You have to do it for yourself. That is the first lesson. Self-responsibility is the dharma marga. Is there some invisible ink or something? Come on, is this Jeremy or Kalavati going? Let's have fun at Dr. Ananda's expense. No, it's okay. No problem.
There's some more upstairs also.
I'll start using the black ones. No problem. Blue ones. Since the morning I'm having something with this. Well, it's better that it disappears. I told you, the worst form of teaching is giving it in writing and handouts, and so it started disappearing. You see, isn't that wonderful? You see, you just have to be around me and you have a lot of these funny things happen. Not worth it. Dharma marga. What is dharma? Dharma is the responsibility for the self. I'm often reminded when you go and travel by airlines that they have these safety videos that say when the pressure falls in the aircraft, there will be the oxygen masks that fall down. And they say first put one on yourself before trying to help somebody else. Very sane advice, seriously. First, you be on terra firma. I've had a lot of those experiences of people not knowing swimming, trying to save someone from drowning. And then you have 2 people to save instead of 1. We've had a lot of those experiences in the ashram when we had that swimming pool. A lot of those experiences. Make sure you know how to swim before you try to save someone. It's nice about saving, but again, first you have to make sure you are capable, which means that you have to build your responsibility. You don't, and again, Oh, I don't think I will ever be able to do it. Yeah, okay, fine, that's the cope out. You're just copped out of the whole thing. Then why were you born human? To make the effort. Dharma is about effort. Dharma is about responsibility. Dharma is about right useness. Using everything that you have been given by the divine in this human birth as it is meant to be used. Using your body as it is meant to be used, using your mind, your emotions, and including the spirit too. Thank you. I think this was fun because this was the one which I. That right useness, that is what is righteousness. I might as well count right. Righteousness, dharma. Responsibility, dharma. And what is responsibility? The ability to respond in the appropriate manner adequately. Which means it has to be adequately, appropriately, at the appropriate manner, in the appropriate way, for the appropriate person, at the appropriate time. Normally I would say responding in the right way for the right person at the right time, but then right left starts to have confusion in people's minds. Appropriateness. What is appropriate response at a certain moment? Doing the right thing for the right person at the right time, in the right way, in the right manner, all of this comes together, it becomes dharma. And this is what we try to understand. And to cut a long story short, this is a 2-week course being condensed into a 2-hour lecture, okay? I'm struggling, in case you didn't notice. We have the numbers 1 to 9 that are in a cycle. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And there's a cyclic pattern. And normally when manifestation occurs from the most subtle, the most causal, subtle, down to the gross. And so manifestation occurs 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And you are on 1. What is 1? That is the terra firma, that is earth. You are right down on earth. You are at the point you need to start. This point that you start on is a stepping stone. It is the launching pad. That's the word I was looking for. Since yesterday I was looking for that word. The launching pad is where you are right now. Not yesterday, not tomorrow. And that is why again coming back to where you are now, what is the launching pad from where you can move? That is the incarnation we have incarnated as in this incarnation. This incarnation is a now also. Now is not just this moment. Now can be this whole lifetime. Now can be this week. Now can be this month also. In the context. And this is where one starts to understand that the now that we are living, this lifetime itself is a now that we need to do something about. So when we start to understand this, we can find that the dharma that we are to fulfill, you can also call it the lessons to be learned in this incarnation. Each incarnation you go through different lessons, and once you get all the lessons done, you pass out. That's Kaivalya, Moksha, Mukti, Nirvana, Samadhi, whatever you want to call it. If you don't learn the lesson, well, come back and learn it out again. It used to happen in schools. I don't know about it nowadays. Because in India, till a certain age, schools are not allowed to fail a student. And so, students don't study and they know they're going to pass through, and then you get to a certain point and they know nothing. And then the teachers don't know what to do, students don't know what to do, education authorities don't know what to do. Have quite a mess. I have had a pathetic situation where learning disorders, instead of being, noticed when kids were, the age of 5, you begin to notice when they are 13 and 14. And it's very difficult to deal once the person is 13, 14 with some of these disorders, which could have been dealt with very beautifully if you had caught them when they were 5 and 6. because of this type of thing. Anyway, coming back to where we are. Now, our dharma, the lesson to be learned, can be understood by looking at the month you are born in, 1 to 12 months that are there, by looking at the day you are born on, and by looking at the year you are born in. So this is the basic data you need to calculate what is known as the Dharma Marga, or what is the lesson to be learned in this lifetime. What are the major qualities, positive and negative, that are going to come up in our life, how to deal with it. Forewarned is forearmed. And by knowing about it, you can deal with it a bit better. If I have a map on how to get here, it's going to be a bit easier than if you don't have a map, or if you have Kala with you. Because our map stopped functioning and yet she found her way here. I was like, okay, today we are in for a great time. Happened not last time, the one before it. We went out to have lunch and then got lost. I never forget these things. I have to be very careful around me, okay, because you never know when what story is going to come out in my classes. I'm not talking about ice creams and cigarettes. Not yet. Coming back to the lesson of the Dharma Marga, what we need today is somebody setting me up for something. I feel like someone's listening. It's okay, no. Maybe. Watch out. What we are looking at is 3 bits of information: the month you are born in, the day you are born on, and the year you are born in. Now these bits of information help us to understand 2 things at least, if not more. One is it's going to give you what is known as the Dharma Marga, commonly known as the birth path. What is the path that you are to walk in this lifetime? And Abraham Maslow very beautifully brought this out when he said, a painter has to be a painter, an engineer has to be an engineer. Whatever you are to be, you have to be and actualize it in this lifetime. It's a very beautiful aspect of his teachings if you look at it. And in fact, either this month or the last month, Amma had a nice article on Abraham Maslow and connections with yoga. What does this give us? The month you are born in, you would reduce the number to a single digit, especially if you are born in October, November, December. Instead of 10, 11, 12, it will become 1, 2, 3. So you are going to have a number 1 to 9 for the month you are born in. You are then going to have a second number, which is the day on which you are born, which again you are going to be reducing the number. Say you are born on the 27th of the month, it's going to be a 9. If you are born on the 17th of a month, it's going to be an 8. So what you do is that you add them up and create a single unit of a number there. The third information is the year in which you are born. So these 3 bits of information give us the influences that we are going to have from birth to the first 27 years of your life. Your month, the number that you get from the month, gives you an idea of the influence you will have in the first 27 years of your life. The day you are born on gives the influence up to 54. That is between 28 and 54. The second part of your life, the householder stage, as it is called. The first stage is the studentship stage, that is the Brahmacharya ashrama. The second is the Grahastha ashrama, which is the householder phase, 27 to 54. And then you have the phase which goes up to 81, which is the phase which is known as Vanaprastha, the retirement phase where you can go into the forest and not worry about the day-to-day affairs of stuff, yet you are available to share your experience for those who want it. And after 81, you go into a phase known as the sannyasa, where you can just be yourself. It's one of those things, no more worrying about anyone, you can just be yourself after that, and you don't really have to care about anyone after that. That's good. Now these three influences are going to be coming, and at the same time the total of these three numbers is going to give you a number which you put in a very nice diamond shape. And this is going to be the number which is your Dharma Marga. The Dharma Marga, also called the birth path. That number is going to be an individual unit number that is going to be influencing you, making out who you are, creating you as you, the best you that you can be. Well, that's what that number is all about. And this number is the Dharma Marga, the lesson we have to learn. Again, it's going to be a number between 1 to 9 because you add these up and get them all into a single unitary number between 1 to 9. So this is going to be the influence that is going to be throughout your life, and along with this, you are going to have an additional influence for the first 27 years of your life. Along with this, you have an additional influence during the middle part or the third part, the three minors. So you have the first minor, you have the second minor, and you have the third minor cycles. These are the three minor cycles, minor in the sense of where it's 27 years. So a 27-year period in which a certain quality is going to be coming through you, in addition to the major quality that comes through, which is the major life lesson, which runs throughout your life from birth right up to death. How do these come through? Well, these numbers are basically an expression, mathematical expression of the chakra that opens when you are born, or rather when you take the first breath of life. And you remember me saying at some point, this morning I believe it was, that when we take that first breath of life, the energy comes into us, the energy of the universe, and a certain chakra opens up. An energy source opens up. An energy reservoir, a generator of energy starts up. Somebody, starts. Yeah, that's your first breath of life. Often, you need to get it going a bit. Holding the baby upside down, and many things are there. Huh? This is one reason why you sometimes don't want the father in there, because they don't understand what you're doing. You hit my son! Nah, it's helping you breathe. Yes.
Dr. Ananda, I just wonder if you should say this for the year, it should be a 4-figure year. So
oh yeah, thank you. That is something you have to remember, because, thank you Jeremy. Because what happens is, instead of saying I was born in 1972, we just say 72. And then I lose out that 1 and 9. 9 doesn't really matter, but the 1 will change the whole equation. Okay, so whatever your birth year, it should be 1907, 1908, 1957, 1965, 1985. It shouldn't just be 85, 72, like that. Because you could end up with a big mistake there. One whole number will be different, and then you are ending, the whole reading goes off. One of the commonest mistakes, and Jeremy very beautifully pointed it out. Now, how does this number come into play? This number comes into play that the moment you take that first breath of life, the universal energy that is coming in on that day, at that moment in time, opens up a center. So a person who is in the first birth path. Birth path, if you say 1 is your Dharma Marga, it means the Mooladhara opened on that day and it's going to be open all the way till you leave the body, the final prana leaves. I told you about being born on inspiration and dying on expiration. The last expiration, it shuts down. Up to that point, it's going to be there. And that chakra, the energy of that chakra is going to create who you are. So how does the number come about? The number is our way of understanding which of the centers was open. And it is not because you are one birth path, your Mooladhara opened. Your Mooladhara opened and hence you are one birth path. And how do you know the Mooladhara opened? Because that was the month, day and year you were born. Am I getting through or is there some confusion there? I always wonder because all of you are so silent. Either you have understood everything or nothing. It doesn't seem any place in between. Yes?
I'm sorry, could you just clarify one more time? If I'm born in 1976,
yes,
do I add 1 plus 9 plus 7
yes,
plus 6?
Absolutely.
And I get 23 and then I add 2 plus 3.
3 and you get 5. Perfect.
Thank you.
What we can do is at the end of this is you could write it down and pass it around, and few of us who know about this will help you just check up that you got the calculation right. I think it's a good idea. I don't want to do it on the board for everyone because some of you may not want others to know how young you are.
If you do one on the board though, then everybody will see.
Volunteer?
Go and do mine then.
Okay, I've just said it, so you might as well use it.
Yeah. I think this is the best. So what is the month we are looking at?
December.
So December, what do I have there? What is the number? 3. Fine. So I have a 3. The first minor is a 3. What is the day?
10.
10. What is 10? 1. Beautiful. And the year you said 1976.
Yes, 23.
So 1. I want to check up whether they know it. 1 plus 9, that is 10. 10 plus 7, 17. 17 plus 6, 23. Are we all on that? Good, excellent, not bad, okay. We are passing our mathematics exam today. 2 plus 3?
5.
Did I hear a 6? No, I thought maybe there's a difference in Wales. 2 plus 3 is something else. That just making sure because you never know, right? Because you guys write Welsh with English alphabets, or maybe it's English use the Welsh alphabets, I don't know. And I really know when I get into Wales because I'm like, who's playing Scrabble with the alphabets there? It's quite interesting actually for me. I'm like, what? It's beautiful actually. So that's why I just take it. Sorry. 3 plus 1 plus 5. And what do we have here? 3 plus 1 is 4. 4 plus 5 is? 9. Which means basically, Costin, we have a 9 birth path here. Okay? So the Dharma Marga or the birth path is a 9, which means the 9th center. Now, immediately people get confused. They say, oh, we heard there are only 7 chakras. No, there are 12 chakras. And this is the first lesson we need to redo that. That after the Sahasrara, you have another 5 chakras. You have the chakra which is related to Brahma, chakra related to Vishnu, Narayana, Brahmananda, Narayanana. You have the Trikuti, you have the Swaminana, you have, what did I leave? One of them I left out. Brahmananda, Narayanana, Trikuti, Swaminana, and Muktana. Muktana is the highest, the 12th center where the Mukti, the Moksha, the Kaivalya occurs. Now the highest 3 centers, and that is why if you look at my chakras DVD or any of the books that we have related that, you have the lower 6 chakras, so you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then the 6, and then the 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. You have these go in that way, whereas these go this way. So these higher chakras are called the under chakras. They are the universal vortices of energy, as opposed to the 6 which come down, which are called the pinda chakras, that come through the human spine, head and spine, that is the cerebrospinal axis. They come down, energizing the human being. So you have the 6 higher, the 6 lower, and the 6 lower are nothing but a manifestation of the 6 higher. And I am not using the word reflection. I used to use the word reflection, but then I realized it means the opposite, mirror image. So I am using the word manifestation. And that is why you have these 6 which are up to the Ajna, 7 as Sahasrara, then you have the Brahmananda as 8 and Narayana as 9. So in this context, the Narayana chakra, which is the 9th chakra, will be the center that is opened up. Which is, now if you say what are the qualities of this 9th chakra, because we don't hear much about it, in order to understand the 9th chakra, what you have to do is go back down. The simplest thing is you go to chakra 1, taken to a new level, a more universal level will be chakra 7, that is Sahasrara. You remember Mooladhara is the terra firma launching pad at the physical level. Sahasrara is the launching pad at the universal chakra level. Similarly, the 2nd chakra here, which is the relation here because Ganesha comes, Brahma goes up. The 2nd chakra will be related to chakra 8, which is the Brahmananda. So you want to understand that 8th chakra, you take the 2nd chakra, take it to a new level of interpretation, you get the 8. And you want to know about 9, you take the 3rd chakra, which is the one related to Vishnu, the Narayana, and the 9th, which is Narayana, and you take 3 to the power of itself is 9. You start to find that relationship. So that is how the interpretation comes, which is a bit too much to give in this lecture, but just to give you a clue about it. And it is like the number 2 to the power of cube, 2 into 2 into 2, you have 8, and 3 to the power of 2, you have 9. And that is how these numbers go into each other. And similarly, the interpretation goes in, just so that you get an idea. Otherwise, you say, oh, there are only 7 and I'm an 8 birth path, I'm a 9 birth path. So it's good we got his example. And if I take in Kalavati, I would have had an 8 birth path. Okay? Now, in addition to being a 9 birth path, a 9 Dharma Marga, which is basically a lesson of universality, learning to give to the wider circle. That is what the 9 is all about. It's about spreading yourself out, but you have to remember not to spread yourself too thin that you break. That is a lesson. Okay? Each one, and I'll go through these numbers in a very simple way because there are a huge amount of lessons for each one. I'll just give you a few key words. One book which I do recommend, and I'm not pushing my books here or anything, but I never do that. Because each of my books, people say, which is the best one? I'm like, well, it's like saying which of your children is most close to you. Each one is special in their own way. It's usually the latest one sort of gets a bit more attention. And that is why my Yoga Sutras gets my attention for now, but soon it's going to be my yoga therapy, and then it's going to be a very beautiful baby girl, Saraswati's Pearls, which is a beautiful conversation between Sangeeta and me on music and yoga, which has me saying things which I never believed could ever come through me. We will be serializing a bit of it in Yoga Life over the next 3 months, and you will get to see some of the stuff. It's very beautiful, very good. But that's the baby girl. The Yoga Sutras is the boy. Literary child, okay? But anyway, coming back to Yantra, the Yoga 1 to 10 book, I have dealt with Introduction to Yantra in a very adequate manner for those who would like that. Because the Yantra book by Swamiji is only available for those who have completed correspondence course. We are not giving it out as a book, it's more as a more intense study for people. But how to do, not so much about how to do the calculation, it's a bit, but what each number means, well, I put it out quite well in the Yoga 1 to 10. which for those who are interested has an Italian version too. And what is the new one? My stress book is coming out in Italian in May. It's being released at the book festival. Not Milan. Not Milano. There's a book. No, Milano is the yoga festival. This is a book. This is a book festival. Savona. You go this way, it's Milan the other direction. It's okay, fine. They have every year a very big book festival, so they're releasing the new one on stress, which I love the cover. It has a very beautiful cover they sent me the other day. Again, I have no idea what's being said in the Italian versions, but I'm sure they're not saying mudra of the chin and things like that. In addition to this major lesson, there are these minor lessons that the lesson of the number 3 during the first 27 years. So, what starts to happen is that you have one number going through your whole life. You will have these numbers coming up at different points, which is basically along with this, from the age of 0, that is from your being born to the age of 27, the third chakra, interestingly, is also activated. So you have 2 chakras working at the same time, which means it's like having 2 lights. You have the major light, which is a yellow light coming through, and then you have a bit of a bluish light being put in. And what do you end up having? A greenish color. I'm just using the blue and the yellow for simplicity. And just as you have this combination of different colors coming through, when the chakric energies are working, there's going to be this primary light that is shining through you, your guiding light. If you want to put it, your guiding star, if you want to put it that way. In fact, Swamiji used to say the highest 3 chakras, 10, 11, 12, Trikuti, Swaminana and Muktana, that they are the 3 wise men who come to every birth, just as they came to see Jesus when he was born. The 3 wise men are these 3 chakras that open with every birth, but they are really of no use to you because they are the connection with the cosmos, but they don't really come down to your level. And so all of us have those 3. And so they are going to be common. They are commonality, so they don't really change things. But then you have this primary guiding light, guiding star, along with it one more light, which then changes how it manifests. Now in this case, the 3 and the 9 go together very well. So you have a creative outlet coming through that 9, which is quite favorable. The 1 that comes in now, the 1 becomes another, now the Mooladhara. This can shut down now. You could continue it if you are working in a certain way, but otherwise normally. Now the next 27 to 54, you have the next energy light coming on. This is the 1 which is focusing you, which is interesting because the 9 is saying go out for the sake of universality. The 1 is saying go and do it for yourself. So there's a bit of a, do you go the Panasonic vision or do you go for the Panasonic vision or the microscopic vision? You're sort of pulled. That is what happens here. And then after 54, you have the 5 energy, which is a rapid dynamic change, evolution, which is pushing you through. Now, the simplest way to look at numbers in order to just understand, and I cannot give you the full interpretation here, 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, they go in one concourse along one pattern. 2, 4, 6, 8 go in the other. And so if the number is in the same pattern, 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, and they are, the influence is going to be synergistic. It is going to work together. Not that it doesn't modify it, but it's going to work together. But say you had a 9, and instead I had a 4, a 2, and a 3. Now can you see the difference what has happened? If you cannot, I'm sorry, it's my fault. Not yours. Earlier you had a 3, the 3 could go with the 9. But now you have a 4, the 4 and the 9 are the square peg round hole, that type of It's just not fitting. So what's happening? The 9 wants to go, but the 4 says, pay attention to detail. And the 9 is like, expand, pay attention to detail. So what's happening is that there is a dichotomy occurring. There is a block in the energies that occur. And this is what we look out when we try to understand. You may have the best birth path, and there's nothing like the best birth path as opposed to the worst one and the most difficult. Every birth path is good because it's a lesson to learn. Okay, so there's nothing like, oh, I wish I was a 7. I'm so spiritual. Or, I wish I was a 1, I would be the world leader. And you forget you would be the biggest dictator also if you are not careful. And both go together. One has to be careful. So, what happens is that this combination, though it is still 9, the first 2 cycles becomes a bit difficult because they are in the opposite concourse. And that is the one is looking at these combinations that come together with different people. And that is why you may be a 9 birth path, another person may be a 9 birth path. But depending on these minor cycles and how they play their game, you start to have these individual variants, the individual differences that start to come down. Now, in addition to that, later on I'm going to tell you in a few minutes, you have a few more shorter cycles also going on. Cycle within cycle within cycle. But these are the major ones because this is an influence which is going to be with you 27 years. That's a long time, okay? 27 years you're going to have a certain influence, so it's worth thinking about it, planning for it, and becoming aware of it. So the most important number that you should take home from all of this is you should be able to calculate your birth path. And if you can get these 3 minors, which you will, you start to understand how the flow occurs. And I personally do not sit around doing yantric interpretations because it's maybe someday when I need a lot of money I'll start that. But it's just it's not for finding it's not about playing around with numbers. It's about understanding yourself and saying, fine, this is what I have to deal with. Let me deal with it. And in that way I do. Once in a while I've done for a few people thanks to Murali, because Murali in Australia, he can get me to do things which I would never do. And it's called persistence. Dr.Ananda, we need to do this. Okay, Murali. Dr.Ananda, we need to do this. Okay, Murali. Dr.Ananda, we need to do this. In fact, I say, just to get this guy off my back, get it done. And he has that amazing, he will get it done. And so, I've done a few things for him, which have been good learning experience for me also, for the people involved also. But it's not something I really subscribe to. Coming back to where we are here, what do these birth path numbers mean? Let's take a look at. If the person is a 1 birth path, normally I never teach people to calculate this first, because then all you're going to listen to is your birth path and nobody else's. I never do that, but anyway, I thought okay. Yes.
Yes, I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yeah. No.
Because my first 27 years have come and gone, I don't want to hang on to the past. Done and dusted.
Yes.
Does it make any difference for the future to...
It makes a big difference.
Right.
See, what we do is that you have this giant circle of life, and if you understand these as the 3 minors that you go through, okay? This is the birth path number. These are the first, second, and third minors. And within each of these you have a 9-year cycle. Okay? So now basically what Austin has been asking is that this first part is already done. For most of us it's done. Now what does that do now? You see, we have set into motion certain things during that 27 that we are going to have to deal with at the different parts of our life as a result of wheel moving within wheel moving wheel. It's easy to understand something you did when you were 18 influencing you when you are 54. It's easy to understand. But what about what you do at 54 being able to influence what you did at 18. It goes the other way also. And that is why it is important to know this. Because if there are things, and you can actually go back and look at the cycles that were going on and what happened, and you can, wherever you are now, can actually go back and change the past. Now you say, how? Yes. It's not about getting in a time machine and going back and just setting right that one thing which would have... Because you know what happens when you go back and set right one thing, you knock over a bottle of water while you're doing that, and then that sets off an avalanche where you are now. One has to be very careful. It's not so easy. And it's not as easy as when Superman, in the first Superman movie, his girlfriend dies in this earthquake. And he is just so heartbroken, and so he goes out into outer space and turns the earth the reverse way. And taking time back, he can then go and save her. Well, maybe Superman can not everyone in that way. But what you can do is this. What is the past? The past is basically a collection of memories. If the memories are just in your head, it's quite easy to deal with the past. Now, what if there's another person involved? Now you have two people's collection of memories that you have to deal with. The more people involved in an event, the more difficult it becomes. Because you have the collection of memories becomes bigger and bigger that you're dealing with. Let me put it this way. There is something called a word, S-O-R-R-Y. It's called an apology. I've experienced this a lot in my own life, and we should have had a student here who's not here, who thought she could be here but is not here. Because she's in France. A dear friend of mine. And her life has been a very good example of this, and if she were here, I'd tell you the story, but she's not here, so I would not tell you the story. Because if she were here, I'd say it without worrying about it, because she's there, but not when someone's absent. When they're there, I'll tell the story, because it's a very good story of how her attempt at going and setting the past right has in fact set the past right. Though initially it looked like it hadn't. It was to do with her relationship with her sister. They had had crazy family relations, and she decided after meeting me in some of these talks to go back and meet her sister one day, and it wasn't, oh yeah, we'll forget everything right away. There was still a bit of icy chill in the air, and there were things there. But in fact, that effort she made has today, now it's nearly 8-9 years later, actually changed the past. Because the past is a collection of memories, and I'm just putting an idea here that often the word sorry, and apology is a major issue, because most people think an apology is, okay, you want me to say sorry? Okay, sorry. That's not an apology at all. Oh, okay, sorry, but sorry, maybe I was wrong. I'm not even saying say I was wrong. Maybe I was wrong. You give yourself the benefit of doubt if you want. That's the second part. And you know what the third part, which everybody forgets? What can I do to set it right? First part, I'm sorry. Maybe I was wrong. What can I do to set it right? And then you try to do that which will help set it right. Now maybe I'm being very simplistic about this. There are complicated situations in life. I do understand. But the effort you make, the effort is going to set into motion, because please understand, these cycles are not one-way cycles. None of these cycles are one-way.
Dr. Ananda, could you almost do that to yourself?
You
Say
can.
sorry to your past.
You can. It's easier to do it to yourself. I mean, you can do it for yourself. Because doing to yourself, doing for, I would do it for myself. And I in fact do that. To set and write memories that basically are in your head and actually nobody else in this whole planet or this whole universe cares about. Okay, fine. But you are carrying this around. They talk about carrying the cross, they talk about carrying memories, about carrying a grudge. What we are doing is half the time the other people have all forgotten about it and we are remembering it. We are carrying it around. It's quite funny actually, and actually if you were to bring up the matter, the other people have actually forgotten about it. Maybe it was not important to them, or they have gone beyond it, or they have been able to wash it out. But our perception, because we do not perceive things as they are, we perceive them as we are. And by your conscious effort, wherever you are now, you can change your perception. Now, sorry if I sound simplistic. Sorry if this seems too easy to be true. All I can say is, I have applied it in my own life. It's very good. It's very good. Because you don't live in the past. Why should you live in the past? You live right now, in the now. And you have to clean it out. Sometimes, the jatis, it's like that. Anyway, I'm not going to go more into this because I can set up a lot of stuff. But if you are one birth path, what is the lesson? The lesson is individuality. Okay? One is individuality. This individuality lesson positively manifests as leadership qualities. One is a naturally born leader. What is the negative aspect you have to be careful of? Dictatorship. Only my way. I know the way. Kill everybody else until only I am left. The one, I am on my own. Kill everybody else. One has to be careful. The positivity is great leadership quality. They can be beacon stars to others. They are influenced by the sun. The sun is the number one in the solar system. So they have that ability, that charisma of the sun. But then you have to be careful because the sun can burn too. When so many Westerners come to India, they say, wow, sun! And you know what they do? Noon time they go out and lie down on the beach in that sun. And the next thing you know, sunstroke and heat exhaustion, and they are hospitalized. Happened with a beautiful group from Berlin who should have known better, some of our students who, before coming to the ashram, decided to stop in Mahabalipuram and have a day in the sun. Arrived in the ashram and all were virtually crawling on the floor. They were, totally out. Like, what happened? So one has to be careful, okay? What is two all about? Two is about diplomacy. The lesson the two birth path is to learn is to be diplomat, is to work in partnerships. Two means the ability to work with another person, association, partnership, making the team work. These are team players. The two is a good team player. But you know what happens? The negativity of the two is that if things are not balanced, I was telling you an example of balancing earlier. Well, like you have 9 birth path and there's a 4 minor. That is unbalanced. Whereas if a 9 with a 3, it's more balanced. Okay, so the more unbalanced the numbers with relation to each other, the more the negativity will show through. The more the balance, the more the positivity will show through. That is actually what happens. The problem with the two is that they try to be diplomatic, and you cannot please everybody at the same time, or rather, you cannot please everybody all the time. And so that creates procrastination. They start to procrastinate, they start to put off things, delay in their wish not to hurt anybody. They want to be diplomatic and they don't want to hurt anybody and, okay, I will talk about it tomorrow. I will do it tomorrow. What happens is that you start putting things off if you are too with the negative influences predominating. I'm not even going to talk about the influence of name on this. Each name has its own influence, and your birth path with your name will again create all its manifestations. But anyway, I'm just keeping it as simple as possible. Hui is about creativity. Hui is about creativity, power, passion, motivation. And the biggest negativity that they have to watch out for is intolerance. They do it so easily, they cannot understand why others cannot. I am a Three. My father was a Three. My mother was a Three, is a Three. My son is also a Three. And we had dogs that were also Threes. So you ask me about a Three, and I know how intolerant we can be at times. Well, you learn to deal with it. Thankfully, my daughter is a 5 and not a 3, so I'm happy we have a bit of variation finally in the family.
And there's Senna.
There's another 8. A very different 8. 4 is the technocrat. This is the birth path that learns by paying attention to detail. You know, the engineers, the builders, the people who, this type of birth path will learn by doing things as they should be done. You ask them to put something together, they will read the instruction manual properly, and they'll put things together, step A followed by step B followed by step C and then step D, and it will be perfectly balanced. Amazing. You ask a 3 to put it together, we don't even read the instruction manual. This is basically what it is. And the 2 is like, should I do it today or tomorrow? And the 1 is, I'm going to do it my way, and my way or no way. This, just to give you a feel of how different people look at a block of Lego things to be put together. Have a question there? I thought it's fine. Okay.
One would go, I don't need to read the instructions.
Absolutely. I will write my own instruction manual. I will write my own instruction manual. All of you follow my instruction manual, not that one. See, the 4, the problem is in paying attention to detail, they get so stuck in detail they miss the bigger picture. Missing the forest for the woods, or what is that? The trees for the forest for the trees. Absolutely. Cannot see the woods for the trees. That sort of thing. They're so busy looking at the fingertip, they forget it's a human being attached to it. One has to be a bit careful with that 4 there. Especially if a 4 is a Virgo, watch out a bit more. I've known a few of those combinations. I had a colleague who worked with me, and in the office, the pen had to be in this place and the pencil had to be here, and if it weren't there, World War III and 4 and 5 would occur. And it happened that whenever he was on vacation, I had to work in that lab. And a 3 is like, throw the pen here and the pencil there and all, and he would come back and, it would be amazing the day he comes back. I used to actually try to escape because, can't you put things in the place they should be? I'm like, yeah, it's there. What does it matter whether it was the top drawer or the second drawer? Okay, come on, it's in one of the drawers, and, the pencil is there, it's, whether it's right side or left side, what does it really matter? No. They are very good at, 4s are very good at writing like instruction manuals because they put up every small bit of information. And you want somebody to write, the fine print on contracts, 4s can do an excellent job. They have everything down there. You ask a 3 and the 3 will say like, just sign here and agree to whatever we say, or something like that. And the 1 will not even ask you to sign. By signing, you have bonded yourself to me forever, something like that. The 5 is all about speed. It is all about change, dynamism, rapid change, that also. 5 is a number that is a very dynamic number. It is like a ball rolling around a room that has no friction. Just roll, 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 roll. There's just no stopping. It's action, no, motion personified. That is what the 5 basically is like. The problem with it is, because they do too many things, they are accident prone. It's just the fact that others do like 10 things and they will do 200 things at the same time. And because of that, they become accident prone. It's nothing else. Because it's going so fast. Why do accidents happen? Usually, if you are driving around at 10 miles per hour, the accident's not going to be a major issue. But if you are driving at 150 miles per hour, looking out the window at the beautiful landscape can change your landscape. You have to be very careful. It's a matter of speed. Very dynamic, and they are usually quite radical. They are attracted to these radical movements because they are like the revolutionary type of person. I want to change things. I want to go out and change the world. That's why I watch out for my daughter, because God knows what she's going to do. She's always having to have somebody do something and push through something. But it's good because the 5 gets things done. The 3 is so busy, in the creativity that we often don't get things done. The 5 has an amazing dynamism of doing it. The 1 can get things done for sure. Even if it means they kill you for it, but they're going to get it done. So, it depends on what actually, and that is why, each of these people, they are sort of attracted to those professions, those places in life that give them that satisfaction of doing something that they love doing, which for me is a very important aspect that we need to look at. Because you have, a 5 working at a job where, they have to read instruction manuals and go slow and steady and deal with other people in a calm, quiet manner. The 5 is just going to hate that job. And they get out there and, change the world, not sit there, writing an instruction manual. So, that type of power. The 6 is about responsibility. Responsibility. Now, this responsibility, especially with regard to family. 6 is a number of responsibility, it is a number of family. In fact, it is a very good number to take care of others. It's a very good number that has the ability, the 6 number itself has an ability to go with both the odds and the evens. So, I was telling you earlier, 1, 3, 5, 7, 9 go together, 2, 4, 6, 8, but the 6 can also go with the others. And this is one of the beautiful qualities of the 6, and in fact, when you are trying to balance names and cycles, you try to see if you can have a 6 someplace, because 6 gives the person responsibility. And please understand, to find responsible human beings today on this planet is becoming very difficult. People who will take responsibility is the ability to respond, not react. I was telling you, knee-jerk, you tap my knee, I kick you. This is the reactivity, spinal cord mentalities, Swamiji would call them. A lot of them around. That used to be the worst insult Swamiji could give anyone, calling them a spinal cord mentality, which means basically nothing's functioning up here. You're just reacting from, you tapped my knee, I kick you. You tapped my biceps, I punch you. It's just the spinal cord jerks. One has to be careful of these. Responsibility implies that something has happened up here. You have used your consciousness. You have used your mind, which makes you human. Even the word human has man in it. Man is manas. Man is mind. Who manas? The one who has the manas. The Sanskrit word for man is manushya, manav, which implies the person who has consciousness, who can consciously use the mind. Now animals also have mind, I do not deny it. But it's at a very different level. As a human being, we are endowed with a power of choice. A choice that can go beyond our inbuilt instinct. We can choose not to eat. We can choose not to sleep. And that is what anahara is all about. To go on fasting is different than starvation. Please understand. Starvation implies you have no choice. Fasting implies you have chosen not to eat. Mauna implies not speaking out of choice. Whereas being made to force your mouth shut is very different. And the reactions that happen are different, and that is why science doesn't understand. They say, oh, when you fast, there are going to be these ketones and other things. Ketones come up when you starve because of a turmoil. Oh, am I going to get food? I'm not getting food. Am I going to get food? That sets your sympathetic nervous system. That creates the reactivity that is seen, and they say, oh, if you don't eat for 3 days, you're going to have all this happen to you. Yeah, if you don't eat and you don't know whether you're going to get food and you're forced not to, as opposed to choosing not to eat. Choosing not to speak, choosing not to eat, choosing not to sleep, choosing to sleep. You have the choice. Now that power is the power of mind, and the mind is basically something that starts with ajna. And that ajna is number 6. And that is why the moment somebody is conscious, the moment somebody works with responsibility, one is able to deal with different situations much better, and that is why the number 6 sort of goes across. 6 seems quite nice, right? But you know what? You take too much responsibility for everyone around you, you end up in nervous wreck. Extreme stress, if it is unbalanced, because you have taken on more than you can chew. You take responsibility for Tom, Dick and Harry who don't care about it, and you have just burnt yourself out. Nervous exhaustion, stress, worry, anxiety. These are possible if the person doesn't understand what they are doing. Number 7, introspective number. It's a number associated with nature, both the external and the internal nature. So it is introspective. It is a number that goes in. So the person has a tendency to go in. They could be an introvert. And this creates an opportunity to look at themselves. It is a number that could be called, I hesitate to use some of these terms, but it could be called a spiritual number if you want to call it that. Because the person has that introspective ability to look at themselves. But then too much of looking at yourself, you end up digging a big pit and jumping into this deep well of depression. You look so bad in there. As I told you, every birth path basically is good and bad. Okay, there's the good, bad, ugly, yeah. It's there in all the birth paths. All are. Because all are lessons. It's not that, if I could just be the 7th birth path, I'm going to be so spiritual. And then you look at yourself and you want to jump off the cliff, which is number 7. 7 is the cliff. In fact, there's a nice drawing in my Yoga 1 to 10 of numbers and the artistic relationship that I drew as a bad student while Dr. John Mumford was teaching the Yantra and the ashram. During his class, I was busy doodling on the back of the notebook. Bad student. You don't do that. Turned out nice. He likes it. I really owe Dr. John Mumford, Swami Ananda Kapila in Sydney a great lot for reigniting an interest in Yantra for me so many years ago. And seriously, the study of Yantra has enabled me to see these connectivities in everything I do, be it music, dance, life, medicine. And recently, actually, my Devasena was asking me after one of my classes, she said, when did you start seeing all this connectivity? I'm like, I really don't know when. And it set me thinking that actually it was after the Yantra studies that I think I started to see this connectivity, and you just start to see these pieces fall together. Giving me a glimpse of the Swamiji I did not know because I was too young to know Swamiji in the 50s and 60s in Canada. And when Dr. John used to teach, I had a glimpse of that. And to be called a friend and mentor of such people, then what bigger blessing do you need in life? The people you respect yours. Means a lot. Introspective number is 7. But one has to be careful with introspection because going in too much, one can start to do what we should not do, and that is condemn oneself. Amma often quotes J. Krishnamurti, one of the greatest philosophers of modern time. Somehow I never felt too attracted to him. A bit too drab for me, but Amma likes him. So I'm fine, okay. He used to talk about this, and Amma has paraphrased it, that to look at yourself and your thoughts, etc., without identifying, without condemning, and without justifying. 3 beautiful things to think about. To look at your thoughts or look at yourself in general, I'm sort of stretching it a bit here to put it into a context. To look at yourself without identifying, condemning, or justifying. These are the 3 things we do, and we get into these traps. And once you get into the trap, then you're not going to go any further because you've already stopped it. Yeah, I am like this because, and never let Yantra become that. I am a 3 and I am like this because I am a 3, and you have stopped your growth. No. It is just a tool. Remember, I started off, Yantra, it is just a tool. It is a means, it's not the end. And this is why one has to be very careful. The mind also is a tool. So one has to go beyond the mind at a point. And that becomes the difficult part. To use the mind and then go beyond it, it's like that ladder. You put it, you climb, and then at the end you have to leave that ladder. You're going to be sitting on the top of the ladder. This is a nice ladder, this is my ladder, this is the most beautiful ladder and the best ladder ever built in the human history. Fine, nice, but the ladder should be used to get someplace, and then that's it. That's the role of the ladder. If you're sitting at the top of the ladder and having a ladder dance, you would get a couple of nice hits on YouTube maybe, but nothing more than that. 8 is the opposite of the 7. It is the extroverted number. The 7 is the introverted number, the introspective. The 8 is all about success. The material success. It is about an extroversion. So it is an extroversion. It is the number of success, in fact. 8 is the number of success. It is the number associated with goddess Lakshmi, the goddess of luck. It is also, on the other hand, associated with Saturn. And so it is said that Saturn, in Indian astrology, there's no one who gives as much as Saturn and no one who takes away as much as Saturn. Both sides. And that is why, the aspect of Lakshmi as opposed to Saturn, one has to balance there. Because if one gets totally into this extroverted material success, one loses the introspective ability of the spirit. And that is why yesterday I told you quantity, quality, one has to be careful. Too much of quantity, you lose all qualitative aspects of your life. And too much of quality, you may not have enough quantity to keep you alive. A very beautiful statement from someone, but I heard it through Dr. John. Very beautiful statement. It says, when you are completely in your left brain, there's nothing right about it. But if you are completely in your right brain, there's nothing left. Beautiful statement. Huh? If you are completely in your left brain, there's nothing right about it. And when you are completely in your right brain, there's nothing left. You need that balance. And this is the thing, that the 7 has the tendency to go in and forget that you have to do something about it. And the 8 has the tendency to go out and then forget that you have to have the spirit also. And that is why to have that balance. And not to get stuck up in the mundane, materialistic world. And you find some of these amazing people who make so much money, and then at the end of the day you find them wondering what to do with it. Because you cannot eat it. I always think of Donald Duck and Uncle Scrooge in his vault, playing with all his money and his coins and all, but you cannot eat it. And one coin goes missing, and that's the end. He's 10 days without food, trying to find where that one coin went. Yoga is not about extremism of any form. It's the middle path. So it's not about, you have to be totally introverted or you have to be totally extroverted. A yogi is an ambivert. Yeah. When necessary, you will be introverted, and when necessary, you can be extroverted. There are moments for both. If you have to sit and contemplate, I just said something I should not say. Because you don't sit and meditate, you sit and contemplate and you attain meditation. But I was using it in a very general term. If you have to sit still, you are able to. And if you have to run around, you are able to. That is what we're looking at, that balanced personality. You could call it an ambivert, but ambivert sort of has this thing that you are neither. I'm trying to find a word which will have both. Intro, extrovert. Extro, introvert. Balanced word. Doesn't really sound. Usually they talk about ambivert. That is the term used usually, but ambivert has a bit of ambivalence about it. Neither. But it's actually both. It's not neither, it is this and that, as and when required. What is 9? 9 is about expansion. It is a number that is to do with expansion, which is about service. Now what is this service? Service is to be able to have the bigger picture in mind, to be able to expand. It is the number which is the individual for the sake of humanity. We talk about the professions that deal with it, like helping others, the helping profession, the healing profession. We talk about friend, philosopher, guide, this sort of thing where the person who exists for the sake of the self or the individual for the sake of humanity, that is more of the 9. Where you are expanding yourself, but one has to be careful, because while you are expanding, don't make it so thin that it breaks. And then you lose yourself. In trying to expand the self for the sake of humanity, you may lose the self. Now it's nice, in the spiritual context, but in your day-to-day context, you lose yourself. You break yourself. And this is what we find in the healing and the service professions, that you find people who suffer burnout, wounded healer syndrome we talk about. In healing others, you burn yourself out because you have overstretched yourself. And that is where one has to be careful. So going from the number 1 to 9, you see how these different lessons, and each one of us goes to multiple lifetimes through each one of these lessons. Constantly, we just go through them, learning the lesson each time. And the more we learn the lesson, the more we are able to deal with it. And once you have learned all these lessons, it's time to jump off, the tangent up. That is what Kaivalya is about. That's what moksha is about. Instead of going again and again in the cycle, there's a tangent and you're out of it. It's like the rockets going off from Earth's gravity, It's something like that. Now, you have a birth path, a dharma marga. You have these minor cycles that influence you over different parts of your life, creating these qualities that have both the positive and the negative in them. Depending on how the circumstances come together, there will be more of a positive or negative aspect of it coming in, and the more you start to understand it, the more you start to know the rules of the game, you can play the game a bit better. Because you get out there in the game and everybody's kicking the ball and you don't know which side you have to kick and what you are supposed to do. Is it a game to be played with the feet or the hands or the head? You don't know. Once you know the rules, you can play it a bit better. For me, life's a big game. In fact, one of my articles sometime back was Life as a Video Game. It's on our website and it's quite a funny article in its own way. Now, I wish this was all, but it's not. We have something else that comes in. And I really hesitate to even start this, but I'll just give you a very small overview. And that small overview, is that just as when we are born with a purpose and to fulfill a dharma, to fulfill a responsibility in this lifetime, to learn some lessons. The process of being born itself, we create something called karma. What is karma? It is nothing but Newton's law. Newton understood it. I told you yesterday, once that apple hit his head, his brain cells popped open and he started thinking. It's astonishing that how many people in human history must have had apples fall on their head. And only when Newton had his apple fall on his head. There was a nice joke sometime back. They said the 3 apples that changed human history. One was the apple of Adam and Eve. Second was Newton's apple. And the third was, of course, Apple as computer. I like the one where the other one was when this Steve Jobs died. Last year it was, right? There was one which had him up in heaven with God or whoever it was, introducing him to Moses. And Moses has these, huge commandments and he says, this is Steve and he's going to help you upgrade your tablets. Actually, these are the best tributes to people because, they stick in your head better than anything people, pages and pages of stuff, these are the tributes there. Well, Newton said, every action has an equal and opposite reaction. Full stop. That is what karma is all about. Now, we can understand things we do creating karma. We could even understand things we say causing karma, but things we think, that's the dangerous part. Imagine that every thought you think creates karma. Ooh, I got you scared? Close to it. All it means is one needs to be conscious of everything we think, say and do. That's what it means basically. And that is why yoga as conscious evolution means every moment consciousness. Not, I did my yoga for 45 minutes this morning and now the rest of the 23 hours and 15 minutes I can do what I want. And I'm sorry to say it, but once you're woken up, there's no going back to sleep, okay? Very sorry to say that. Because I've had students who have really been mad at me. Why did you ever wake us up? And well, that's their karma, that's my karma. And please understand, we have to be careful with karma because we only look at the negative parts. We had some nice stories down in Cornwall on karma, where we experienced both the negative karma, but it wasn't too bad. And we just got hit by a hailstorm, nothing too big. But then we also had positive karma, because on the way near Bristol we were to meet someone, and Kathy, who had brought me up to just past Bristol, this bridge, we had just crossed the bridge and there was a station there. Megan. And we were to meet Jnanadev, who was to then take me to the next part of my journey. And we said, okay, Jnanadev is not here, let's just go in, wash up, go to the bathroom a bit and come back. And then we were just standing there thinking, he's not yet here, maybe we should get a sandwich. And just then the phone rings and Jnanadev's like, I've just come and I have a whole Indian meal in my car waiting for you. And this was luckily just before we bought the sandwich. So that's good karma. Because if you had bought the sandwich, you are like then in a dilemma, do I eat the sandwich or eat the Indian food? And so there are these moments you have, these small things happen. There are some very beautiful moments, and the more conscious you become, the more aware you become, the more you are able to analyze the pieces of the jigsaw puzzle, the more you start to understand how things link together. What links to what? Everything is linked. Everything, and just remember this, everything in the universe is linked together. Everything. Now, the more you start to understand the linkage, the more you are going to be playing the game by its rules. They talk about letting the mad bull into the china shop. That's how most people lead their lives. Out, crash, clang, hospital, insurance, accidents. That's how people live. And Swamiji used to call it the school of hard knocks. He said that's how most people have to learn the lessons. Now you can choose not to. Choices. I told you, as a human being, choice, the power of choice is within us. A very, very important power. We can choose our perspective. We can choose our attitude. We can choose what we are going to think, say and do. And I'm not talking about the 120 varieties of coffee you can choose from in the supermarket. That's mad. That's crazy. That's really crazy, All the 220 channels we can see in India on television, none of them have anything worth seeing. Last time they were coming when I were someplace, we said, okay, we had this nice room and there's a television. We don't have a television in the ashram, okay. I said, okay, let's see what's on television. They surfed through the entire thing and there's nothing worth watching. One has to be careful. That's not really a choice. Karma starts the moment of conception. Now this is a bit unfair. Your dharma starts when you are born, but karma predates you. Because how does your karma manifest in your lifetime? Basically, a lot of it through your genetics. We talk about sabija karma, the seed karma. That karma which is coming from previous incarnations, and people say, what is this? I say, it's nothing but your genetics. What your genetics is giving to you in this lifetime is what you have carried together from past incarnations. From that time you are up there, flying around with your little wings and saying, hey, that looks like a nice set of parents to be born to. Dive into them and you are there. Nice story? Yeah. We choose the family we are born into. Even if you don't like it, that is the reality. We make the choice, even there. What is it that chooses? What is it that makes us choose? All the past karma says, this is the family through which you are going to work it out the most. So here it is. Have it. Because nature wants you to work out your karma so that there is zero balance and you can have kaivalya. Nature wants you to attain kaivalya. And if you are going to work out your karma, it is not by saying, okay, maybe next month I'll pay the bill. No. Pay it right now and get done with it. That's nature's law. Why is the world economy the way it is? Because of what happened in places like America. I was surprised when I was there. Well, right. 2008 I was surprised. Buy something now and pay for it 7 years later. I'm like, what are you doing to humans? Will that thing be even working 7 years down the line? I think it was about a kitchen or something. Get a kitchen and pay for it 7 years later? No wonder we have a problem with karma. We haven't even started to pay for it and already we have accumulated so much. Anyway, this is my take on the economic situation is just that if human beings were a bit more responsible, we would have a much better world. That's all. Karma starts from the moment of conception. Now, if you look at the Yantra year, we basically have 9 months, not 12, because those last 2 months are again broken down. October becomes 1, November becomes 2, December becomes 3. So basically you are always going to have 9 months in one yantric year. Okay? And what is the normal duration of a pregnancy is about 9 months. So 9 months of pregnancy is basically one yantric year, irrespective of when you are born, whether it's in the same year that you are conceived or another year. And that is why when you want to know the karma cycle that you are in, there's an entire karmic cycle going 1 to 9. What you need to do is that you need to look at the month, you have to look at the day, and you have to look at the year for which you want to know the karma cycle. Okay, I want to know now in 2013, what is my karma cycle? So I have to put 2013 here. Please understand, it's not your birth year here. You can put your birth year, and all it will tell you is I'm going to tell you in a few seconds. So you have the month, the day, the year in question, whatever year it may be, and you have to add to it something that never forget, the 1 yantric year for being in your mother's womb. This 1 is added to take care of the 1 yantric year, the 9 months of karma we accumulated from the moment of conception to the moment of birth. So that 1 has to be added for the karma cycles. And this is called a karma yuga. A yuga is a cycle. So the karmic cycles, how does karma manifest? This is to be calculated by month, day, the year in which you want to know. So if, for example, because with costing we know we had December, was it? So we had December,
3.
was a 3, and we had, I think it was a 10.
10.
Yeah, so that was a 1. So now I want to know, in the year 2013, what is your karmic cycle? So I have a 3 plus 1, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, which means it is a 2 karma cycle, and I put it in a box. So at present you are in a 2 karma cycle. In addition to being a 9 birth path, blah 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 blah, a 2 cycle is now going on. Now what is a 2 cycle? Well, I'm going to come back in a few minutes to that. Please understand, if you were to go back to the year you are born in, you would basically have your birth path plus 1. So if you are a 9 birth path, you were born into a 1 karma cycle year. Okay, a 1 birth path is born into a 2 karma cycle year, a 4 into a 5, you're always born into the next cycle year because you are carrying that 9 months of your karma from the womb of your mother. But the idea is that you should be able to calculate this at any point. So 2013, what is my cycle year? Where the karma is manifesting. Now karma goes to a number, again 1 to 9. This 1 to 9 is the constant thing going on. And what is that? This karma cycles can be equated to the concept of gardening. You sow the seed, you plant it, it starts to germinate, it starts to sprout. So the first 3 parts, 1, 2 and 3. 1, 2 and 3 are the seeding part. Because in 1 you are planting. 1 is planting or seeding. 2 is germination. 3 is sprouting. So this is the seeding phase. This is the phase where now you are planting something. So when you are in a 1, 2, 3 cycle, it is a period where there is a start of something that has just recently occurred. Start is always 1. 1 is a start. We all say that, right? When you want to start something, you start from 1. 0 doesn't exist in Yantra because 0 is basically Nothing. It's like the 9. 9 and 0 are the same. So the 0 becomes the 9 becomes the 0 in calculation. Because like if I had 1 and 0, it is 1. Okay? And if I had 1 and 9, it is also 1. That is how it works in Yantra. The 0 and the 1, because the cycle continues. There's no break. You have a 9 and then the next is 1. And that is why there's no break in the Yantric cycle. It doesn't go to that in these cycles. Now what happens is after you have planted something, it germinates, it starts to sprout. Just when you think everything looks good, you have the testing phase. And that is 4. 4 is the testing. This is where you have the famine, you have the flood, you have the hailstorms, you have all that. Testing occurs. Why does testing occur? The testing phase is a very essential phase because it determines whether you are fit for the aspirations you have. It tests nature's law, survival of the fittest, or survival of the one that adapts the best. That law is tested here in 4. Now if you can get through this 4, the next part of the phase is going to be rapid growth. A gigantic spurt of energy, dynamism personified is going to occur in this cycle. There's just going to be an amazing growth if you pass the test. If you don't pass the test, well, have to wait and then restart. It is where nature tests you, because please understand, nature is going to make sure you are worthy of your aspiration. 5, rapid growth. 6 is where you start to have the budding. This is the phase in which the buds start to appear. 7 is where the flowers appear, flowering. 8 is the fruition, is it? Fruits appear. And 9 is where you harvest and get ready for the next cycle. So if you look at this, you can say the first 3 are the seeding, the next 3 are the test, and then the last 3 are the harvest. You can divide it into these 3 threes, but each one has its own character. This division is more artificial. Each one has its own character. Now every idea we have, every plan we make goes through this also. You start off by thinking of a plan, you start to interact with others. So this is the start. This is where you interact with others and you have partnerships. This is where you discuss ideas with others and say, okay, let's do something. And now it starts to manifest. Your plans start to manifest. And then comes the test. You have got things moving and now the test comes, the officers come around to check whether you have all your licenses and whatever you do. Well, that is a 4. Now if you get through that, you have this rapid spurt of growth. Dynamism personified, as I said. The 6 is where you start to tie up the loose ends and you check your accounts a bit. This is the place where you be a bit responsible. The number 6 is responsibility. Be a bit responsible about what you have been doing, because now you have suddenly grown so much. Check up things a bit. Am I on the right path? Have I taken care of people I have to pay? Settle things like that. 7 is where you have to sort of be ready for what I could call the spiritual harvest. Because usually unless you are in the flower business, flowers are more something just to enliven you, give you something nice to look at, enhance the quality, as opposed to fruit which you can eat. I'm being very general here. Okay, you can harvest flowers and there are flowers you can eat. But just in comparison. The 7 is more about getting a benefit which is more like self-satisfaction, a fulfillment of the spirit. Whereas the 8 is where you have the material harvest. This is the point where you start to get all the successful materialistic aspect of your project. And then comes the 9, where you sort of start to bring it all together. Don't jump the gun at this point. Just wait for the next one where you can reinvest and you can start a new cycle. And these are going on this is basically a 9-year cycle. So this 9-year cycle will be going on. This is that 9-year within the 27. You remember I drew the big circle, and then I had 3 smaller circles, the 3 minors. Within each 27 I had a 9-year. This is basically that. So you have this going on within it. Now this will influence a similar cycle in the months, and that will influence a similar cycle in the days. So each day you go through, every 9 days you are going through a certain pattern also. And when you want to find good days to do things and other things, you look at that. And when you want to find a good day to fast, a good day to start some of the cleansing practices, or some of the introspective journeys, the Ekadasi, the Panchasahita, some of these practices, you look at some of these cycles. Is it a cycle that is in tune with your inner growth? And you try to tie it together. It's about going with the flow of nature. I'll end by just drawing a small graphical representation of this. The 1, 2, and 3 go up. At the end of the 3, you start to have a downswing that goes into the 4, which is the test. So this is the 1, the 2, the 3, the 4. You then have a rapid growth of the 5, which goes all the way higher than when you were. Please understand that 5 is going to take you well beyond where you were in the 3 if you can just get through that 4. If you can hold yourself tight during the test, you are going to be in a much better position at the end of it. This is the 5. The 6 sort of is more like that, balanced. This is the 6. The 7 goes down a bit and comes up. This is the nature of the 7. The 8 is going to be up depending on whatever is happening. So the 8 is a bit more up like that. So you can see how in this representation, what you have is that there is this growth, 1, 2, 3, the 4 is the test, 5 is this rapid growth. Please understand the amount of growth that has occurred from the bottom of the 4 to the top of the 5 is going to be tremendous. 6, 7, there's a slight going down initially and then it comes up, where you get the harvest here. Because there's been that introspection. The introspection is like putting the brake while you're driving. You're driving and you want to know, oh, am I on the right path? What do? You put the brake and you slow down a bit. But you're not stopped. It's just that, you're just checking. And that is why this happens. The 8 is the manifestation of the success which you have started. And the 9 is represented by the sawtooth, which is going to be at the end of the year in December, they usually have a TV program, The Year in Focus. And they tell you all the important events of the year, in a nutshell. This 9 is like that. You have all the previous 8 cycles, sort of you have the ups and the downs. And depending on what the last 8 cycles have been, there will be more ups or more downs. And so the 9 can be a very emotional period because there's a suddenly up, suddenly down. Suddenly up and you're like, oh, what's happening? The roller coaster. And depending on the previous, what you have sown, please understand, God cannot help you. What you sow, you shall reap. Isn't that what's said? We sow potatoes and want tomatoes. No. Sorry. That's not how nature works. What you sow is going to come back, and that 9 is going to tell you tomatoes, potatoes, whatever is there. You say, I don't like potatoes. Yeah, but you planted them. So there will be this. So 9 can be quite emotional. And that's why you have to hang on in the 9 and not say, oh, I'm going to start planting. Oh, I got tomatoes, I'll plant potatoes. Not in the 9 cycle, wait till it's the 1 again. You just have to wait a bit, and then you start it. I'm in a 9 cycle at present, okay? And getting to experience the last 8 years in a nutshell. Many good things, but then there are moments where I wonder what I've been doing also. You get it back. This is going on in one side. I told you how you can calculate the year. So, for example, we said a 2 year. If maybe you just give me 2 more numbers. They don't even have to be your own number if you don't want to tell it. But just for the karmic cycle, which doesn't, you don't have to tell how young you are also, so it's not an issue there. We just want the day and the month and day on which you are born. And can we have a volunteer? Yes?
I was born in April, so that's a 4.
April. So, okay, April's a 4.
The 10th.
So that's a 1. And we are in 2013. So 2013 we'll cut short it to make it easy. 2, 3, 4, 3 and 3, 6. So basically a 6 plus a 1. So you have 5, 11, 12. So you have a 3. So basically you are now manifesting in this year. And remember the year starts with January. So it's from January to December basically. This is how it's worked out. Thanks to Swamiji and Swami Kanakananda, Swamiji's guru, who was an absolute genius in maths and English, one of those polymaths, and then developed this amazing knowledge of yoga which he cultivated during his period after losing his family. A big story, we will talk about it someday. A professor at the Banaras Hindu University comes home one day and finds his house on fire, has lost his wife and child, basically goes mad, runs out in the forest. Well, Swami Kanakananda had to go through that to be who he was. And in Swamiji's own words, he was the only enlightened man Swamiji ever knew. Now that's a big statement. Swamiji knew every yogi you can think of. Everyone. And that is why I really like Amma's History of Yoga. The second volume is going to press any day. Amazing. And the second volume, oh my God. It's going to be a bit more controversial. And it's okay. She has a right to say what she wants to say because she knows what she's saying. But again, Amma has known all these guys she's writing about. So it's not just bookish knowledge. But Swami Kanakananda and Swamiji, in their assembly of these teachings in the modern context, have used it so that we can use it in our modern calculation. Rather than going into some old Indian traditional calendar, it has been adopted so that it fits into the calendar we use, which is something which is very useful. So, from January 2013 to December 2013, it is a 3, which basically, for the first up to July, you have the upswing. So get anything important done before July. Because after July, you start the downswing, which carries into the next year. So hang on tight. And I don't really want to do much of this, but just so that you get a feel of it. Any other? Yes, I think there is.
Well, no, I have the same
Yes.
numbers as Costin, but so are you saying that the year doesn't follow from January to December in your birth part? So this year being a 3.
Yes.
Did you I just got a bit confused. Did you
No.
mean
What I'm saying, this is for 2013.
Yes.
So in
So this is
2013, he is in a 3 karma cycle.
From January to December.
From December, yes. January to December, absolutely. Do we have one more? You're also scared I'm going to say something. No, Sonia's not scared of me. Yeah. Can we have a month?
Yeah, 9,
9 and a day?
12, 3.
12, so 3. So 9 and 3, so the 9 can be cast out because 9 is going to anyway get through the calculations, so no issue. So you have a 3 and we had already calculated as a 6. So again in 9. So basically you are in a 1 cycle year. So having completed whatever you were doing last year, you have started off something new and keep it going.
Yes.
So maybe it's for you that this was going on today. So that we all knew that. And you just get moving on it. So now this is a year where there's going to be something pushing you to say start, do something, start, and just think about it and start it. Because that's the energy that's there, but make sure you start something that you want to go for at least 9 years. If not 18, 27 and 108 years. Kadavati, I just want to know this. I'm sorry, I need to know.
Need to know what?
I need to know your cycle year.
6.
6 cycle year.
Yeah.
You worked it out. Okay, fine.
I only
6,
I only
okay.
have to add up the year that I'm in. Because I'm a 9 and an 8, add the 1, so that's 2 9s, strike them out, just add the year up, so I'm a 6.
You lost me.
I'll do it on the board then. It's a,
No, fine. It's a 6 year.
I'm in a 6 year.
Fine, okay. That makes sense
It's
also.
because the numbers around
Yes.
the year
Yeah.
add up to a 9. So I'm a
Okay,
5
fine.
plus 1, that's a 9, so it gives us concentrate on the
Yeah.
year. I don't have to do that calculation to get what you...
Fine, perfect. Yeah, because other numbers come then. Yeah, perfect.
I'm a month an 8, and my date's a 9. So if you add the 1 to the 8 months,
You have a 9 and
2
9, it
nines.
cancels out
So
anyway.
you
So
just
then
add the year.
we are just left with the 6.
Yeah.
Okay, I get that. Now I get it. Yes.
I just wonder if you should kind of just clarify the difference between the birth numbers and the karmic cycle numbers.
Yes.
That they're not the same qualities and they're sort of slightly...
No, they're very different actually, because see, the karmic cycle numbers are about a flow that is going on 1 to 9, where you start something, take it through its natural flow. You have the growth, the testing, the rapid growth, and then the reaping of the harvest. So this is a flow that is occurring through a period of say 9 years. Now I have not gone into the months and days, but you have this going on over a period of 9 years. Whereas your birth path is going to stay with you throughout your life, and that influence is going to be there. And you are going to have these minor influences of 27 years, the next 27, the next 27, which are going to also be there. So in understanding yourself, who am I? No, that is a big question. Who am I? When I want to find an answer to that, my birth path and those bits of information help me know where I am, maybe what my purpose is, what are the lessons I need to learn in this lifetime, so that I can start learning them and making the best of the positivities, reducing the negativities. If I'm a 1, I say, okay, fine, I better watch out for this dictatorship and let me try to cultivate a bit of balance there. If I'm a 3, I say, okay, I know that there can be intolerance, let me try to work on that and understanding that other people come from their own place and may need to do things in a different way. It's a bit difficult, especially with one of my colleagues in the work, seriously. How not to be intolerant with such people, I just don't know. Who can just get a salary for 4 years and not do a single bit of work in 4 years. How they can even... Sorry. See, I'm sorry about that. But you have these moments, okay? So then you learn about it and you say, okay, fine, that's where he is. And what I often think is that, a donkey has its nature, it's going to be a donkey, a cat has its nature, it's a cat. And you just have to let people be their nature at times. You try to help them, but then there's a story in Indian tradition, Dr.Ananda storytelling classes, of a rishi, a sage who was sitting in his hermitage, and one day a rat, a small mouse, let's put it mouse, beautiful little mouse, runs into his hut and, "Ooh, save me!" And he's like, "Oh, poor thing." And he says, I really don't have any family, and maybe it would be nice. And he converts this mouse into a beautiful girl. Okay? She grows up into a lovely woman, and, Swamiji is like, "Oh, what do I do now? I have to get her married." Indian tradition, find a good bridegroom for your bride, for your daughter. And he says, "Well, let's go and meet so and so." So they go and I believe they meet the mountain. No, who do they meet first? One is the mountain, the air, the sun. They say the sun. Maybe you should marry the sun. And she says, "No, he's too hot. I don't like that heat." And then, the moon, he is too cold. And then, the wind, he's running around all the time, won't have time for me. And the moon, each one says something, and then the cloud, they have something. They get finally to the mountain, and then from the mountain, finally she's saying, he's just standing in one place all the time, I don't want to marry him. Finally, as they're standing there, a little rat, a mouse runs out of the mountain. He says, yeah, I want to marry him. And he converts her back into the mouse and they get married. It's a beautiful story because, people's inherent nature is such that it's very difficult for you to bring change from outside. The mouse never wanted to be a girl. He just wanted to be a mouse. It was this guy's idea that the mouse should be a girl. Right? We want to change people, but please understand the door to change is open from inside. The key is with them. You can knock on it, fine. You don't break it down. It does no good. It's like, trying to help the chick hatch from the egg by, helping it break the egg. You end up killing it. So one has to develop these qualities. But just coming back to this, we have those qualities and we try our best to be the best we can be within that, understand ourselves so that we become a better human being. That is ultimately what it's about. And the karmic cycles help you to plan your life, plan what's happening, and analyze what's happening. Why is this happening to me? And then you suddenly say, okay, fine. Today is a 4-day. A 4-day means pay attention to detail. I did not pay attention to detail and this has happened. Okay, fine. Now next time you have a 4-day, watch out. Make sure you read your ticket and know that your destination is correct and what is the time the flight is leaving. Check your visa, whether it is stamped or not. Single or double visit or multiple visit. I learned this lesson the hard way because I didn't pay attention. And one of my students told me that. He said, sir, you have not been paying the attention you pay usually to these things and that is why it happened to you. I have good students like that. Huh? They're not scared to write me and tell me. He said, sir, you are a person who is profoundly interested in everything you do. And he said, recently you haven't been interested in things you do. And he said, if you had had that interest, you would have noted that it was not a multiple entry visa, it was a single entry visa. Because you had lost that capacity of being interested in each and everything you were doing. You did not notice it. And that's why you brought it upon yourself. Beautiful. That's a student giving me a lesson. In Indian culture, we talk about Lord Durga, the son of Shiva, teaching Shiva. He becomes the guru to Shiva. It's beautiful. And this is good. When you get that, you say, fine, yes. Otherwise, it's, oh, poor me, those Italians didn't let me in. That's the first reaction. And then you realize, come on, next time. And nowadays, I look at my visa, is it multiple? I do it. You learn from your lesson, okay? But you look at these cycles, they really help you. Sorry, I cannot get more than this in 2 hours, okay? It's 2 weeks, we crammed into 2 hours, and in case you're left dazed, confused, don't worry. Confusion precedes fusion.